Britain granted Iraq its independence in 1930, but the fledgling political institutions in the country were beholden to the far more powerful military. As such, there were a couple of coups, and the ever-changing prime ministers purged political opponents in the military and could only hold on to power with help from generals. However, in the 1930s, German diplomats had been preaching anti-British sentiment in the country, and the now pro-German generals like al-Sabag formed the Golden Circle, aimed at removing all British influence from the country. So when World War II broke out, the pro-British Prime Minister Nouri did not honour his alliance with Britain and did not join the war. But he had already lost support from his old ally al-Sabag, and he was forced to resign in 1940. Gaylani took over, but he did not break relations with Italy when they entered the war, and many began to believe with the fall of France that the Allies would lose. But the British managed to hold on to Egypt and in retaliation placed sanctions on Iraq. The regent Abdullah pressured Gaylani to step down in early 1941, so the Golden Square planned to launch a coup to reinstall him. Abdullah discovered these plans in March and fled, and the next day, on April the 1st, the military quickly took over and Gaylani, back in power, refused to allow British troops to pass through the country. However, the British were tied up in campaigns in East Africa, Libya, Greece and the likes. So Leo Amery, the Secretary of State for India, redirected troops en route to Malaya and sent them to Basra. They arrived on the 18th, meeting no opposition, as Gaylani just asked them to leave as soon as possible. But more troops landed in Habaniya Air Base, and in late April, even more arrived in Basra. So Gaylani sent troops to Habaniya Air Base and on the 1st of May had effectively laid siege to the small force inside. He believed that the British, being preoccupied elsewhere and fearing Axis involvement, would seek a diplomatic resolution. But beginning on the 2nd, the British began to launch aerial assaults on the Iraqi positions, railway lines and aircraft. So with their supply lines cut, the Iraqis withdrew on the 6th. Yet as the Iraqis retreated, the Axis powers began to ship in weapons via Vichy-controlled Syria, and the British forces in Basra were prevented from moving north due to the flooding season. So the British sent the Arab Legion to Rutba, which they captured after a couple days of heavy bombardment. This opened the path to send more troops from Jordan to reach Habaniya by mid-May, despite Luftwaffe bombings. And now a united force, the British moved on Fallujah, crossed the Euphrates on cable ferries and surrounded the town. The garrison inside the city surrendered without much resistance, but on the 22nd, the Iraqis, with Axis tanks, counterattacked and assaulted Fallujah. However, the Iraqis were driven back after a whole day of heavy street fighting. Then on the 27th of May, the Indians in Basra moved north on the Tigris River to Kut, and from Fallujah the British forces marched on Baghdad. Unaware that the British only had around 2,000 men pressing from Fallujah, Gaylani fled to Persia on the 29th of May and then on to Germany. However, with the leaders gone, a power vacuum led to widespread rioting, and a lot of anger was targeted against the Jewish population, and hundreds were killed in the first 2 days of June. And with the coup leaders gone, the British signed a quick armistice, Abdullah returned as regent, and the monarchist al-Midfi was made Prime Minister again. British troops would remain in Iraq throughout the war, being deployed from there during the invasion of Syria in June, and the Anglo-Soviet invasion of Persia in September 1941. Plus, after the war, the Iraqis signed the Baghdad Pact with the British to counter the Soviet threat, and this would include the likes of Pakistan and Iran. But the restored monarchy didn't last long, as they were ousted during a coup in 1958.